This was a journey American missionary John Chow was warned against taking. The island was off limits to protect outsiders and the tribe, which has no immunity to modern diseases. This morning, investigators are trying to figure out who else might have been involved in that fatal mission.
There are places on Earth so dangerous, so isolated, so mysterious, that governments ban people from going there entirely. Some hide deadly predators. Some are poisoned by war. Some are guarded by tribes who have rejected the modern world for thousands of years. And some are simply too terrifying for anyone to stay. Imagine standing on a beach where every step could mean death, or sailing toward an island where helicopters refuse to land because nobody knows what's waiting below the clouds. Tonight, we're traveling to the most forbidden islands on Earth, places abandoned by civilization, places erased from maps, places where people who ignored the warnings never came back. And the deeper we go, the stranger these islands become, because the real reason nobody visits them is far more disturbing than you think. North Sentinel Island, the last uncontacted tribe. Deep in the Indian Ocean, hidden within the Andaman Islands, sits one of the most isolated places on Earth, North Sentinel Island. From above, it looks beautiful. Dense rainforest, white beaches, crystal blue water, paradise. But this island is completely off limits, and approaching it can get you killed. North Sentinel is home to the Sentinelese people, one of the last truly uncontacted tribes on Earth. Anthropologists believe they may have lived there for tens of thousands of years, surviving entirely cut off from modern civilization, and they want to keep it that way. Every attempt to contact them has ended violently. Fishermen who drifted too close were attacked with arrows. Helicopters sent after the 2004 tsunami were met by tribesmen firing spears into the sky. And in 2018, an American missionary named John Allen Chow illegally traveled to the island, hoping to convert the tribe to Christianity. He never returned. Local fishermen later reported seeing Sentinelese warriors dragging his body across the beach. The Indian government strictly prohibits anyone from coming within several nautical miles of the island. But the reason isn't just violence, it's protection. The Sentinelese have likely never been exposed to common modern diseases like influenza or measles. A single virus carried by an outsider could wipe out the entire tribe within weeks. So North Sentinel Island remains frozen in time. A modern mystery hidden in plain sight. And nobody knows exactly what life there is really like. But believe it or not, there's an island even deadlier. Ilha da Queimada Grande, Snake Island. Roughly 90 miles off the coast of Brazil lies an island so terrifying that the Brazilian government banned civilians from entering it. Locals call it Snake Island. Officially, it's known as Ilha da Queimada Grande. And according to legend, the snakes are everywhere, hanging from trees, sliding across rocks, coiled beneath every patch of grass. Scientists estimate there may be one snake for every few square meters of land. But these aren't ordinary snakes. The island is home to the golden lancehead viper, one of the deadliest snakes on Earth. Its venom is so powerful that it can melt human tissue. Victims can suffer kidney failure, internal bleeding, and necrosis within hours. So how did this happen? Thousands of years ago, rising sea levels cut the island off from mainland Brazil. Trapped there, the snakes evolved in complete isolation. With no large predators and limited prey, their venom became extraordinarily potent to instantly kill birds before they could fly away. There are horrifying local stories about fishermen landing on the island and never returning. One tale describes a lighthouse keeper whose family was allegedly killed after snakes slithered through the windows at night. Whether every story is true or not, the danger is very real. Today, only specially authorized scientists and the Brazilian Navy can legally visit Snake Island.
Everyone else stays far away, and honestly, that's probably a good idea. Poveglia Island, Italy's island of death. Near Venice, Italy, sits a tiny island with a history so horrifying that locals refuse to go near it. Poveglia Island. For centuries, it was used as a quarantine zone during outbreaks of plague. Ships arriving in Venice with infected passengers were sent there. The sick were abandoned, the dying were isolated, and the dead were buried in massive pits. Historians believe more than 100,000 people may have died on the island. But the nightmare didn't end there. In the early 20th century, Poveglia became a mental asylum. And according to local legends, the doctor running the facility performed cruel experiments on patients before eventually throwing himself from the bell tower. Visitors today claim they hear screams echoing through the ruins. Others report shadow figures moving between collapsed buildings. Whether haunted or not, the island's dark history is undeniable. Human ash is said to make up much of the soil itself. Italian authorities heavily restrict access, and the island remains abandoned.
A decaying monument to centuries of suffering, and we're only getting started. If you're fascinated by these hidden worlds and forbidden places, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because the deeper we go, the more unbelievable these islands become. Hashima Island, Japan's ghost city. Off the coast of Nagasaki, Japan, lies an island that looks like something from a post-apocalyptic movie. Hashima Island, also known as Battleship Island because of its shape. At its peak in the 1950s, Hashima was one of the most densely populated places on Earth. Thousands of coal miners and their families lived inside giant concrete apartment blocks surrounded by ocean. Schools, hospitals, movie theaters, entire lives packed into a tiny fortress island. But beneath the surface was a darker story. During World War II, forced laborers from Korea and China were reportedly brought to the island under brutal conditions. Many died in the mines. Then, in the 1970s, coal lost value. The mines shut down almost overnight, and everyone left. Within weeks, Hashima became a ghost town. Today, collapsing staircases, shattered classrooms, and rusting hallways remain frozen in time. Nature is slowly reclaiming everything. Parts of the island are open to limited tourism, but most areas remain inaccessible because the structures are dangerously unstable. Walking through Hashima feels like exploring the ruins of civilization itself, a silent warning about how quickly entire worlds can disappear. Grunard Island, the anthrax experiment. During World War II, Britain tested one of the deadliest biological weapons ever created, and they tested it on an island. Grunard Island, off the coast of Scotland, became ground zero for anthrax experiments. Scientists detonated anthrax bombs there to study how effectively the disease could kill livestock and potentially enemy populations. The tests worked too well. Anthrax spores contaminated the island so severely that it remained quarantined for nearly 50 years. Warning signs surrounded the coast. Nobody was allowed to enter, because even decades later, the bacteria could still kill. Think about that. An island poisoned so badly by science and warfare that nature itself became lethal. In the 1980s, massive decontamination efforts finally began. Thousands of tons of formaldehyde were sprayed across the island. Only then was it declared relatively safe again. But the name stuck. Anthrax Island. A chilling reminder that some places are abandoned not because of myths, but because humans created something too dangerous to control. North Brother Island, America's forgotten quarantine zone. Right beside New York City, one of the busiest places on Earth, sits an abandoned island almost nobody can visit. North Brother Island. Most people living in New York don't even know it exists, but its history is disturbing. In the late 1800s, the island housed Riverside Hospital, where patients with highly contagious diseases were isolated from the public. Smallpox, tuberculosis, typhoid fever, and one patient became infamous, Mary Mallon, better known as Typhoid Mary. She was an asymptomatic carrier who unknowingly infected dozens of people with typhoid fever. Authorities forcibly quarantined her on North Island for years. The island also witnessed one of America's worst maritime disasters when the steamship General Slocum caught fire nearby in 1904, killing over 1,000 people. Survivors were brought to the island's hospitals. Today, nature has consumed the ruins. Trees grow through abandoned buildings. Bird colonies dominate the landscape, and access is almost entirely restricted to researchers and conservation officials. A forgotten island hidden in the shadow of one of the world's largest cities. Palmyra Atoll, paradise with a dark reputation. At first glance, Palmyra Atoll looks perfect. Turquoise lagoons, palm trees swaying in the wind, untouched tropical beauty. But this remote U.S. territory in the Pacific has an unsettling reputation. The atoll is one of the most isolated places Americans technically own. No permanent residents, no hotels, no normal tourism. Access is tightly controlled for scientific research and conservation, and strange stories surround it. Sailors have described Palmyra as deeply unsettling, a place where compasses malfunction and people feel overwhelming paranoia. In 1974, a wealthy couple sailing through the Pacific disappeared after reaching the atoll. Their remains were later discovered, leading to a shocking murder investigation. Even today, the island feels eerily empty. No crowds, no civilization, just endless ocean and silence. Sometimes isolation itself becomes terrifying. Bouvet Island, the most remote island on Earth. Now imagine an island so isolated that the closest humans are often astronauts orbiting above it. That's Bouvet Island, a tiny Norwegian territory in the South Atlantic Ocean. It's considered the most remote island on Earth. Over 1,000 miles from the nearest inhabited land, almost completely covered in ice, battered by violent storms year-round. No airport, no harbor, no permanent population. Even landing there is extremely difficult. And yet, one of the strangest mysteries in the world was discovered there. In 1964, explorers found an abandoned lifeboat sitting on the island. Nobody knew where it came from. No nearby shipwreck, no bodies, no explanation. Just a deserted boat on one of the most inaccessible places on Earth. To this day, the mystery remains unsolved. Bouvet is so hostile and remote that humans practically don't belong there at all. Tristan da Cunha, life at the edge of the world. If isolation had a capital city, it would probably be Tristan da Cunha. This tiny volcanic island in the South Atlantic is the most remote inhabited island on Earth. The nearest continental landmass is thousands of miles away. There's no airport. The only way to reach it is by sea, and the trip can take nearly a week. Fewer than 300 people live there. Everyone knows everyone. There's one main settlement, one small school, one grocery store. And because of the extreme isolation, many residents share the same last names. But life there isn't peaceful paradise. The island sits atop an active volcano. In 1961, a volcanic eruption forced the entire population to evacuate to England. Imagine abandoning the only home you've ever known because the ground beneath you suddenly exploded. Most residents eventually returned, but Tristan da Cunha remains incredibly difficult to access, not because it's forbidden, because nature itself makes reaching it nearly impossible. Niihau, Hawaii's forbidden island. When people imagine Hawaii, they think of tourism and beaches packed with visitors. But one Hawaiian island has remained almost completely closed to outsiders for over a century. Niihau. known as the Forbidden Island. Privately owned since the 1800s, Niihau is home to a small native Hawaiian population living largely traditional lifestyles. There are no major resorts, no paved roads, limited electricity, and access is heavily restricted. The owners claim the isolation helps preserve Hawaiian culture and protect residents from outside influence. Even today, only invited guests, military personnel, and a limited number of supervised tours are allowed. From the air, Niihau looks peaceful, but its secrecy has made it one of the most mysterious islands in America, a place intentionally kept separate from the modern world. Bikini Atoll, paradise destroyed by nuclear fire. The name Bikini might sound harmless today, but Bikini Atoll carries one of the darkest histories in the Pacific. After World War II, the United States used the atoll for nuclear testing. Island residents were relocated with promises they could eventually return. Then, the bombs started falling. Massive nuclear explosions vaporized parts of the landscape. The famous Castle Bravo test in 1954 became one of the most powerful nuclear detonations ever conducted by the U.S. Radioactive fallout spread far beyond expected zones. Some nearby populations suffered radiation sickness. Entire ecosystems were contaminated. Today, parts of Bikini Atoll remain dangerously radioactive. Shipwrecks from nuclear tests rest beneath the lagoon, and despite its breathtaking beauty, permanent resettlement remains extremely limited. It's one of the clearest examples of paradise transformed into a warning. Heard Island, Earth's untouched wilderness. Far south in the freezing Southern Ocean lies Heard Island, one of the wildest and least visited places on Earth. The island belongs to Australia, but almost nobody ever goes there. Towering glaciers cover much of the land. Massive elephant seals crowd the beaches, and an active volcano called Big Ben rises through the clouds. No permanent humans live there. No infrastructure exists, and brutal weather makes expeditions incredibly dangerous. Scientists value Heard Island because it remains one of the few ecosystems on Earth almost untouched by direct human activity. It's protected not because people want to exploit it, but because humanity fears ruining one of the last truly pristine places left. And maybe that's the most important reason of all. Conclusion: the real reason nobody visits. When you look at these islands together, a pattern starts to emerge. Some are forbidden because humans contaminated them. Some are dangerous because nature evolved without mercy. Some are protected to preserve fragile ecosystems or ancient cultures. And some are simply too remote for civilization to conquer. But all of them reveal the same uncomfortable truth. There are still places on Earth where humanity does not fully belong. In a world mapped by satellites and connected by the internet, these islands remain isolated pockets of mystery. And maybe that's why they fascinate us so much, because they remind us that no matter how advanced we become, the world still has boundaries. Some enforced by governments, some enforced by nature, and some enforced by something far older than either. Human curiosity has always pushed people toward the unknown, but these islands prove that sometimes the unknown pushes back. Subscribe for more deep dives into forbidden places, lost histories, and real-world mysteries from around the globe. And tell me in the comments, which island shocked you the most? And would you ever dare visit one of them?